Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to our evening Bhagavad Gita circle reading program. Welcome. We will be continuing with chapter 18, verse 12. And this is the final chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is the conclusion. And we are happy and excited to hear from His Grace Balabhadra Bhattacharya Prabhu from ISKCON Atlanta. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhu, you're muted. I can't hear you for some reason.
How about now?
Perfect.
I pushed the wrong button.
It's okay, Prabhu. Thank you. And it's all yours, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Namo Vishwabhadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharani Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschachade Satarne Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gopakravrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, text number 12. Anistam mishram cha trividam karmana phalam bhavat yat yaginam pretya natu sanyasinam kochit. For one who has not renounced the threefold fruits of action, desirable, undesirable, and mixed, accrue after death. For those who are in the renounced order of life have no such result to suffer or enjoy. Purport: a person in Krishna consciousness acting in knowledge of his relationship with Krishna is always liberated. Therefore, he does not have to enjoy or suffer the results of his acts after death. Text number 13. Panchaitani mahabaho karanani nibodhame Sankhye kritante proktani siddhadhe sarvakarmanam. O mighty armed Arjuna, according to the Vedanta, there are 5 causes for the accomplishment of all action. Now hear of these from me. Purport: a question may be raised that since any activity performed must have some reaction, how is it that the person in Krishna consciousness does not suffer or enjoy the reactions of work? The Lord is citing Vedanta philosophy to show how this is possible. He says that there are 5 causes for all activities, and for success in all activity, one should consider these 5 causes. Sankhya means the stock of knowledge, and Vedanta is the final stock of knowledge, accepted by all leading acharyas. Even Shankara accepts Vedanta Sutra as such. Therefore, such authority should be consulted. The ultimate control is invested in the Supersoul. As it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya chaham hrideshani vishta. He is engaging everyone in certain activities by reminding him of his past actions. And Krishna conscious acts done under his direction from within yield no reaction, either in this life or in the life after death. Text 14. Adhistanam tata karta karanam cha pritag vidam vidvidas cha pritak chesta daivam chaidvartra panchamam. The place of action, the body, the performer, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor, and ultimately the supersoul. These are the 5 factors of action. Purport: the word adhishtanam refers to the body. The soul within the body is acting to bring about the results of activity and is therefore known as karta, the doer. That the soul is the knower and the doer is stated in the Shruti, Esha hi drashta shrasta. Prashna Upanishad 4:9. It is also confirmed in the Vedanta Sutra by the verses Gyo Ta'eva 2.3.18 and Karta Shastrar Tavat 2.3.33. The instruments of action are the senses, and by the senses, the soul acts in various ways. For each and every action, there is a different endeavor, but all one's activities depend on the will of the Supersoul, who is seated within the heart of as a friend. The Supreme Lord is the super cause. Under these circumstances, he who is acting in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the Supersoul situated within the heart is naturally not bound by any activity. Those in complete Krishna consciousness are not ultimately responsible for their actions. Everything is dependent on the Supreme Will, the Supersoul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 15. Shariravan manobiryat karma parabate nara nyayam va viparitam va panchaite tasya hetava. Whatever right or wrong action a man performs by body, mind, or speech is caused by these 5 factors. Purport. The words right and wrong are very significant in this verse. Right work is work done in terms of the prescribed directions in the scriptures, and wrong work is work done against the principles of the scriptural injunctions. But whatever is done requires these 5 factors for its complete performance. Text 16. Tattaivam satikartaram atmanam kevalam tuya pasyatyakrita buddhitvam nasa pasyati durmati. Therefore, one who thinks himself the only doer, not considering the 5 factors, is certainly not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are. Purport. A foolish person cannot understand that the Supersoul is sitting as a friend within and conducting his actions. Although the material causes are the place, the worker, the endeavor, and the senses, the final cause is the Supreme, the Personality of Godhead. Therefore, one should see not only the 4 material causes, but the Supreme efficient cause as well. One who does not see the Supreme thinks himself to be the doer. Text 17. Yasha nahang krito bhavo buddhir yasha nalipyate hatvapi sa ima lokan nahanti nani bhajyate. One who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled, though he kills men in this world, does not kill, nor is he bound by his actions. Purport. In this verse, the Lord informs Arjuna that the desire not to fight arises from false ego. Arjuna thought himself to be the doer of action, but he did not consider the supreme sanction within and without. If one does not know that a super sanction is there, why should he act? The one who knows the instruments of work, himself as the worker, and the Supreme Lord as the supreme sanctioner, is perfect in doing everything. Such a person is never in illusion. Personal activity and responsibility arise from the false ego and godlessness, or a lack of Krishna consciousness. Anyone who is acting in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the Supersoul, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though killing, does not kill, nor is he ever affected by the reaction of such killing. When a soldier kills under the command of a superior officer, he is not subject to be judged. But if a soldier kills on his own personal account, then he is certainly judged by a court of law. Text 18. Jnanam geyam parijjata trivida karma chodana karanam karma karteti trivida karma sangraha. Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower are the 3 factors that motivate action. The senses, the work, and the doer are the 3 constituents of action. Purport. There are 3 kinds of impetus for daily work: knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower. The instruments of work The work itself and the worker are called the constituents of work. Any work done by any human being has these elements. Before one acts, there is some impetus, which is called inspiration. Any solution arrived at before work is actualized as a subtle form of work. Then work takes the form of action. First, one has to undergo the psychological processes of thinking, feeling, and willing, and that is called impetus. The inspiration to work is the same if it comes from the scripture or from the instruction of the spiritual master. When the inspiration is there and the worker is there, then actual activity takes place by the help of the senses, including the mind, which is the center of all the senses. The sum total of all the constituents of any activity, of an activity, are called the accumulation of work. Text 19. Jnanam karma cha karta cha tridhaiva guna vedata prochate guna sankyani yata vach trinu tanyapi. According to the three different modes of material nature, there are three kinds of knowledge, action, and performer of action. Now hear of them from me. Purport. In the 14th chapter, the three divisions of the modes of material nature were elaborately described. In that chapter, it was said that the mode of goodness is illuminating, the mode of passion materialistic, and the mode of ignorance conducive to laziness and indolence. All the modes of material nature are binding. They are not sources of liberation. Even in the mode of goodness, one is conditioned. In the 17th chapter, the different types of worship by different types of men in different modes of material nature were described. In this verse, the Lord says that he wishes to speak about the different types of knowledge, workers, and work itself according to the three material modes. Text number 20. Sarvabhuteshu yanaikam bhavam avyayam ikshate avibhaktam vibhakteshu taj jnanam vidhi sattvikam. That knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all living entities, though they are divided into innumerable forms, you should understand to be in the mode of goodness. Purport. A person who sees one spirit soul in every living being, whether a demigod, human being, animal, bird, beast, aquatic, or plant, possesses knowledge in the mode of goodness. In all living entities, one spirit soul is there, although they have different bodies in terms of their previous work. As described in the 7th chapter, the manifestation of the living force in every body is due to the superior nature of the Supreme Lord. Thus, to see that one superior nature, that living force in every body, is to see in the mode of goodness. That living energy is imperishable. Although the bodies are perishable, differences are perceived in terms of the body, because there are many forms of material existence in conditional life. The living force appears to be divided. Such impersonal knowledge is an aspect of self-realization. Text 21. Pritak tvena tu yaj jnanam nanabhavam pritag vidan veti sarveshu bhuteshu tajganam vidhi rajasam. That knowledge by which one sees that in every different body there is a different type of living entity, you should understand to be in the mode of passion. Purport. The concept that the material body is the living entity, and that with the destruction of the body, the consciousness is also destroyed, is called knowledge in the mode of passion. According to that knowledge, bodies differ from one another because of the development of different types of consciousness. Otherwise, there is no separate soul who manifests consciousness. The body itself the body is itself the soul. And there's no separate soul beyond the body. According to such knowledge, consciousness is temporary, or else there are no individual souls. But there is an all-pervading soul, which is full of knowledge. And this body is a manifestation of temporary ignorance. Or beyond this body, there is no special individual or supreme soul. All such conceptions are considered products of the mode of passion. Text 22. Yattu Krishna va ekasmin karje saktam haitukam atatvarta va alpamcha tattamasam udharitam. And that knowledge by which one is attached to one kind of work as the all in all, without knowledge of the truth, and which is very meager, is said to be in the mode of darkness. Purport. The knowledge of the common man is always in the mode of darkness or ignorance, because every living entity is in conditional life is born unto the mode of ignorance, into the mode of ignorance. One who does not develop knowledge through the authorities or scriptural injunctions has knowledge that is limited to the body. He is not concerned about acting in terms of the directions of scripture. For him, God is money, and knowledge means the satisfaction of bodily demands. Such knowledge has no connection with the absolute truth. It is more or less like the knowledge of the ordinary animals, the knowledge of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. Such knowledge is described here as the product of the mode of darkness. In other words, knowledge concerning the spirit soul beyond this body is called knowledge in the mode of goodness. Knowledge producing many theories and doctrines by dint of mundane logic and mental speculation is the product of the mode of passion. And knowledge concerned only with keeping the body comfortable is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Text 23. Niyatam sangha rahitam araga dvaisata kritam apala preshuna karma yat tat satvikam uchate. That action which is regulated and which is performed without attachment, without love or hatred, and without desire for fruitive results is said to be in the mode of goodness. Purport. Regulated occupational duties as prescribed in the scriptures in terms of the different orders and divisions of society, performed without attachment or proprietary rights, and therefore without any love or hatred, and performed in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of the Supreme, without self-satisfaction or self-gratification, are called actions in the mode of goodness. Text number 24. Yattu kame pshuna karma sahankarena vapuna kriyate bahulayasam tadrajasam udharitam. But action performed with great effort by one seeking to gratify his desires and enacted from a sense of false ego is called action in the mode of passion. Text 25. Anubandham shayam himsam anapeksha cha paurusam mohararavyate karma yattat tamasam uchate. That action performed in illusion, in disregard of scriptural injunctions, and without concern for future bondage or for violence or distress caused to others is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Purport. One has to give account of one's actions to the state or to the agents of the Supreme Lord called the Yamadutas. Irresponsible work is destructive because it destroys the regulative principles of scriptural injunction. It is often based on violence and is distressing to other living entities. Such irresponsible work is carried out in the light of one's personal experience. This is called illusion. And all such illusory work is a product of the mode of ignorance. So I think we'll stop and open up for a little discussion if we can.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. As you were reading, I was trying to digest it and think. And when I start thinking, then I have to catch up with what you read. But really, really powerful, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Yes, Mother Gita, please ask a question, Mother.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisance. Prabhu, I had two questions. One is from verse number 13.
Okay.
I'm trying to find in the purport. Oh, I picked up the wrong. Let me see. Yes.
In verse 13, you say?
Yes, purport of 13. Okay, so it says he is in the second paragraph. He's engaging everyone in certain activities by reminding him of his past actions.
Yes.
So in what way is Krishna reminding us?
In the second canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, I forget the chapter number, and Srila Sukadeva Goswami is describing about the Lord within the heart. And I believe that's the name of that chapter, Lord in the Heart. There's several chapters with names like that, but the Lord in the Heart. And in one of the purports, Srila Prabhupada says, the intelligence is the form direction of the supersoul. So how do we get this knowledge, as you're pointing out here? He's engaging everyone, right, in certain activities by reminding him. So we're familiar with the Dami Buddhi Yogam, Tesam Satata Yuktanam Bhajitam Pritipurvakam, the Dami Buddhi Yogam. So Krishna gives the knowledge how to come to him for those who are practicing Bhajitam Pritipurvakam, devotional service. So Krishna gives a certain kind of direction to us who are practicing bhakti yoga. But to the mundane person, which Srila Prabhupada is, he's not saying here that it's a devotee. He's engaging everyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Certain activities by reminding him of his past actions. So it's not like Krishna says, okay, you used to be a dog, now you wanted to act like this, now act like that. But he gives that kind of inclination. So people do things, as Prabhupada talked about, the impetus. He uses really nice way of explaining it. Thinking, feeling, and willing is the beginning of the impetus for work. So where does all this thinking come from? Like people have these, what they call aha moments. And they go, oh, aha, that's what I wanted to do. Oh, yeah, this is that. Where did that come from? They have no idea, really. And I mentioned the other day that the scientists right now are studying the location of consciousness. They're trying to figure out where is it. So they think they've located it in a certain part of the brain, but no, it's not there. It's in the heart. So the Lord is in the heart. Like I said, that chapter in the Bhagavatam. Living entities in the heart, the Lord is right there. Right there, he's telling us, this is what you wanted in your past life. Now you have it in this life. So that intelligence, which is, you can't see it, like you can't see the mind, you can't see the intelligence, you can't see the soul. These things are all invisible to us, but they are there. Not like you can grab the intelligence and put it in your hand, put it in a test tube, look at it under a microscope. It is subtle, like we have a subtle body. So the Lord, through our subtle body, primarily the intelligence, is giving us the understanding by this impetus to do a certain kind of work. Why is it? Because here I like what Prabhupada said, in certain activities. Why is it certain people like to do this and certain people like to do that? And I always refer back to this movie I saw years ago in a research for our music project, the Murari Band. We saw a movie called The Decline of the Western Civilization. Decline of the Western Civilization. And it was a documentary about punk rock music, that really heavy punk rock music. So they interviewed this young boy and they said, well, what do you like to do? Again, thinking about inclination, what we like, what we don't like. So this boy said very powerfully, I like to beat people up. I love, sounds like McGrory the Hunter. I like to shoot animals and have killed them. Gives me great joy. So in that way, the impetus, that mindset is Krishna was reminding you, this is what you wanted. You wanted to live like this. So here's that opportunity. But that person doesn't know it's the super soul guiding him. He thinks it's him. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities that are carried out by nature. And we know nature is controlled by Krishna. So it goes in a circle. Krishna's giving that, reminding us, but we don't know it's him until you come in contact with a bona fide devotee of the Lord. Then that devotee begins to let you know and guide you that that's the Lord talking to you. Now you have to learn how to distinguish if it's like Maya trying to get you or if it's Krishna trying to guide you. So then you take whatever you're hearing from the super soul, Guru, Shastra, Sadhu, then you confirm it. You don't just act. I believe it's mentioned in one of these verses, right? In other words, you don't just act on an impulse. You actually take time to look at that impulse. Then you look in Shastra, you talk to some sadhus, and you talk to your spiritual master if you can, to confirm that what I'm thinking, what the super soul is telling me, is the right thing to do. Because the super soul's also telling the thief how to steal. Srila Prabhupada, when he was in Atlanta, this is so funny. He was giving a lecture, and he said, the Lord is in the heart of every person, and one thief is trying to break into your house. And the household is trying to figure out how to keep the thief out of the house. And Prabhupada said, the Lord must be confused or like that, because one person's asking for this. Oh, he said perplexed. So the thief is asking to break in, the household is saying keep him out, and the Lord is perplexed what to do. So he allows the thief to break in, and he allows the household to catch him, something like that. Yeah. Prabhupada talked about that. So Krishna, in the form of the super soul, because the supreme personality of Godhead in his ultimate form, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam, he's not guiding us until we become fixed in devotional service. Then he personally guides, as Prabhupada said, and Vishnu Gada confirmed when we had the class, the last time I spoke, Bhagavatam, we confirmed what Prabhupada said in that interview where Rameshwar tried to explain away what Prabhupada was saying, that Krishna speaks to the devotee. No, that what Prabhupada means is that, that he speaks to the intelligence. No, Prabhupada said, no, he speaks directly. So until we hear Krishna directly, he's working through the super soul is working through the intelligence, and intelligence based on your exposure. If we expose ourselves to Krishna consciousness, then we can do Krishna conscious activities. But if we expose ourselves to mundane activities, that's how we will act. And the super soul will give us the intelligence. Okay, you want to do like that? Okay, fine. Here's the intelligence. It's like a small child continually wants to touch the fire. And the parents said, don't touch the fire. It's very dangerous. But he hasn't experienced it yet, because two kinds of acquisition of knowledge, descending, ascending. Ascending means let me experience it. Let me burn my hand. Let me crack my head. Descending means let me listen to the bona fide authorities. So that's how it works. Once we get that connection with the bona fide source of guidance, who can help us discern what things to act on, which things not to act on, because the super soul is giving both. That's the point. He's giving knowledge to the thief and giving knowledge to the household. Same super soul. So you might say, well, why is the super soul guiding this person to kill someone? Because that's what happens. That intelligence, how to kill someone, came from the super soul, because that's what the person wanted. But someone can argue, why would God do that? Don't blame God. This is what you wanted. So God's giving you what you wanted. Now you just have to hear from the bona fide source and change your actions, your activities. It's to me, it's very interesting. As I was reading this, just like Hanasui was saying, this is quite complicated and hard to keep up with. So, going back and looking at it, just like you did, Gita, is very, very important. So I hope that helps a little bit. You can jump in if you like.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. I had another question from
Please,
verse 21.
Go ahead. Verse 21?
Yes, 21 in the purport. Srila Prabhupada says the body is itself the soul, and there is no separate soul beyond the body. How do we understand that?
No, he's referring to, let's go back, because look at the verse. That knowledge by which one sees that in every different body there is a different type of living entity, you should understand to be in the mode of passion. So the purport is about that. So the concept that the material body is the living entity, and that with the destruction of the body, the consciousness is also destroyed, is called knowledge in the mode of passion. According to that knowledge, again, see, keep the sequence. Krishna said it. Prabhupada's reiterating this point about the mode of passion. According to that knowledge, which is in the mode of passion, bodies differ from one another because of the development of different types of consciousness. Otherwise, there is no separate soul which manifests consciousness. That's where it's a little complicated. You have to really stop and say, what is Prabhupada saying here? That's incredible. So the body is itself the soul, and there is no separate soul beyond the body, according to such knowledge. And that's where you get the connecting point. According to such knowledge, which knowledge? That knowledge that Krishna just talked about and Prabhupada just explained. You follow so far, Gita?
Yes. Thank
so
you.
That knowledge, he's talking about what Krishna just said in the verse. According to such knowledge, consciousness is temporary. So obviously we don't believe in that, right? Or else there is no individual souls. We don't believe in that either. But there is an all-pervading soul, which is full of knowledge. See, he's explaining their philosophy, not our philosophy.
Okay.
He's explaining what Krishna says. Okay, that knowledge which sees that he sees in every different body there is a different type. That is in the mode of passion. So Srila Prabhupada is doing what I love. He does this. He explains their philosophy, their viewpoint. Then he gives the Vaishnava viewpoint as he goes through it. But he doesn't hide this kind of bogus philosophy. He explains it so we can understand, oh, okay, that's what I need to avoid. I need to avoid that kind of thinking. So thank you for pointing that out. It's very, very nice.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Actually, Prabhu, as soon as you said that Sri Prabhupada is explaining from their philosophy point of view, then it started to make a little more sense. Because
Yeah.
I was also puzzled, like, okay, Krishna, I got to go back and dissect one sentence at a time. But now that you're saying that, Prabhu, so as I'm reading it several times,
Yeah.
I have to switch the cap around and think from their perspective to understand what your Prabhupada is saying. This is complete science.
It is. And that's why it's
It is.
exciting. It's very exciting. If we take the time to study it and really digest it and keep remembering that Srila Prabhupada is guiding us through these purports, not just, we, as I said in a humorous way, we sell the book and just give it to them. Prabhupada didn't like that. Just give the book. You don't, he said, do you read the books? He told the devotees, you don't read my books? What do you say on Sankirtan? Oh, Prabhupada, he says about yoga, this, that. What? You don't read my books? Why should I even write these books? One time he was actually going to stop writing when they didn't finish publishing Chaitanya Charitamrita. He said, why am I going through all this trouble? You're not doing it well. I should stop. So he wanted us to know this philosophy, not that we have to become Vedic scholars, but we should know the basic philosophies, especially about the soul and the super soul, okay? And the body, which is the field of activities, the knower of the field, and then the super knower. The field of activities means the body, the knower of the field is the individual soul, and then the super knower, because Prabhupada says, you know what's going on in your body, but you don't know what's going on in my body. And then the super soul knows what's going on in every single body, which is incredible. And he's spread everywhere. So that's where it gets so confusing for people. How can God be like that? So that's how they can foolishly say, I am God. Really? Let me explain to you the aspects of God. Then they go, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. So that's our job, to awaken them. Divya Gyan, we have to be almost like spiritual masters to give them that awakening. Om Gyanati Mirandasya doesn't mean just the big gurus have to do that work. Little specks like us, we have to do our little speck work and open people's eyes a little bit more, guide them a little bit more by giving the direct philosophy. You don't have to water it down and change it, embellish it, dramatize it, just give it. It's powerful, powerful knowledge. So.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, it definitely is scientific, and this is these verses are so powerful that just reading it one time or two times, 3 times is definitely not enough.
It's not.
it takes a lot of discussion on it, just on one verse takes a lot of discussion. And the first question that Mother Gita asked is the same question that I had. It caught me instantly. I said, okay, what is Sri Prabhupada saying here? Thank you for really shedding some light on that, Prabhu. Would like to ask devotees if any questions, any comments, clarification or a takeaway. Please do unmute yourself, or you can just jump right in and take over. Prabhu, there's something that I want to ask, and it hit me as you were reading the verses, and this was discussed among some devotees, and some people, I not all devotees, is that there's a living being, when they come to Krishna consciousness, or when they have some desire of Krishna consciousness, do they grow from the mode of ignorance to the mode of passion to the mode of goodness? Must they grow through those stages to get to the mode of goodness, or can one actually really skip? Like they can go from the mode straight to the mode of goodness, and like, dang, that is Krishna's God. Yeah, he's a great,
Yes, you can go directly there just by following what Prabhupada said. He said, I'm giving this process that I'm taking these malechas and yavanas, like, all of us Westerners. I'm taking them and making them Brahmins. So people were upset with Srila Prabhupada. How are you doing like that? How can you do that? These are all malecha people. And Prabhupada, because I'm giving them 4 regulative principles. Those 4 regulative principles are very important to us if we follow them nicely, because that keeps us on the standard of Brahminical life. And then if we just follow what Prabhupada said, follow in his footsteps, follow his instructions, then we can go from stupid, ignorant, all the way to learned Vaishnavas. I remember when I first joined as a new bhakta, and the senior devotee was giving class one night to students from Morehouse College. Morehouse is one of the most prestigious Black universities in the country. So they were all there, African-American students. And this devotee, Gokula Ranjana, was giving the class. And I'm new devotee, I'm enjoying the class. And then he had to go and do the arti. And he said, Bhakta Ben will answer your questions. I said, what? I just came a couple of weeks ago. What are you talking? He had that much faith in my understanding I had been coming for a year, and he knew me very well. He had that much faith in the amount of knowledge I had acquired over that amount of time to turn those students over to me. And I was like, I didn't know it at the time that he had that confidence. And it helped me to progress even further. That if I just study the books, then if someone asks me a question, I can share as much as I know. And what I don't know, I should be humble and say, I don't understand that right now. Let me research it, and we'll get back to that. So that is the lesson I learned. So you can go from 0 to 100 by taking the elevator. Prabhupada says you can take the stairs, take a long time, many lifetimes, Bahunam Janma if you like, or you can go from 0 to 100. But sadhana bhakti is the beginning. And the very beginning is adal, shraddha, sadhu sangha. Adal, faith, and then associate with devotees, and then bhajana kriya. All those things happen in sequence. But some devotees like Jayananda Das Thakur went all the way to the platform of a pure devotee in the presence of Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada confirmed it, that he went back to Godhead because he was hearing and chanting at the time of his death. If he had some small material desire, then he went to the heavenly planets to enjoy that and then go back. He said because he was chanting and hearing at the time of his death, he went back to Godhead. So that's why we say Sri Jayananda Das Thakur, not just Prabhu, Thakur ki jai. Why is he on every Rath Yatra card? Because he's a pure devotee. So yes, but it's not easy. Let's not mistake this for a second. It's not easy. It's not like my 2 spiritual siblings years and years ago. We were all bhaktas, and they said, you know what? I think I was born in the mode of goodness. And then the Mataji said, you know what, Babu, you know what? I think I was born in the mode of goodness too. And I looked at him and said, you guys are crazy. You just came from being, hippies and drugs. And now you're in, you went all the way to the top. You take your time. Take your time. But again, It can happen in a second. Mother Gita might remember we were listening to a class from Srila Prabhupada in Australia for Super Saturday, and someone asked that kind of question. Prabhupada said you can do it in a second. You can become pure and self-realized in 1 second. It doesn't take so long, but you have to follow. And in another place it says, one says, my dear Lord, I believe to Lord Ramchandra, my dear Lord, from this day I am yours, and you never do anything else bad. You become a pure devotee that moment, that second. But you have to maintain that level. So I'll stop. Is that Surab?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Ask a question.
When you were talking to or answering to Mother Gita's question, I was remembering the analogy of that there on the branch of tree, there is there are two words. One is the super soul and the other is the soul. The soul is trying to enjoy by himself.
Yeah.
And the super soul is just looking at it, waiting for it, the soul, to look back to him. Is that the essence of what you were speaking, I guess?
Yes, it's exactly. We're going after sense gratification, but still the other part is that the intelligence to do that thing comes directly from the super soul by way of the intelligence. Now, understanding the intelligence of an ant or squirrel or a bird, Prabhupada says they have intelligence. Every day they wake up, like he says, the bird is thinking, where can I find food? Where can I find shelter? How they think, they don't speak in Sanskrit, they don't speak in Bengali, they don't speak in English. How they understand, that's the super soul communicating to them, giving them, some people say it's, what do you call it? I don't know, reflex or whatever. All of that is coming from the super soul. So he is there. Is it Sweta Sutara Upanishad or Kata Upanishad? I believe it's Sweta Sutara Upanishad, where that example is given. So two birds sitting on the tree. One bird is eating the fruit. The other bird is saying, that's bad fruit. That's a good fruit. It's a bad fruit. That's a good fruit. So then after some time eating the bad fruit, you start to listen to that little voice, like sitting on your shoulder saying, you should not do that. You say, yeah, I know I shouldn't do that. Last time I did that, I got a bad reaction. That's when the intelligence starts to kick in a little better. And then you start listening to the super soul. Then when you meet someone who understands that, just try to learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master. Tadvidi pranipatena paripasnena sevya upatekshanti ganam gyanastatadarshana. Then you start confirming the good advice of the super soul, and you start rejecting the bad advice. Nothing is bad, but the unwanted advice of the super soul. It's all coming from the super soul. It's not coming from the devil, all those kinds of things. It's all coming from the Supreme Lord through the agency of the super soul. Of course, Maya is there tempting us to eat those bad fruits. And the super soul is saying, don't do it. But Maya is saying, you'll enjoy, go and do that, okay? But Maya's not in your heart. Maya's external. She's not in your heart. Super soul is in your heart. Maya's external. She's trying to put her influences, ahankara vimudatma, bewildered spirit soul. So it's not that complicated, but it's practical. Krishna's trying to guide us. We're rebelling, rejecting, until we get some knowledge and start to recognize that the good advice coming from the Lord from within, and we start acting on that, is not only in the Krishna consciousness movement. People outside the Krishna consciousness movement sometimes get good impetuses from the Lord because of their pious activities, which we talked about the other day. Because of their accumulated pious activities, now they're able to understand the instructions coming from the Lord even before becoming devotees because of their pious activities. We were reading about that king, Maruta. Yeah, Maruta. Yeah, you remember in the class? That king, and because of his pious activities, the Lord was even impressed with that. Pious, accumulated pious activities. And people sometimes they do pious activities. So they're able to appreciate God's instructions coming from within. And then like my sister, I keep talking about her. She's a Jehovah's Witness, and she sent me this beautiful video of paradise, the heaven. And the animals were all hugging, the human beings are hugging the animals. They're all a beautiful place. You know how the Jehovah's Witnesses have beautiful paintings. In one of the paintings, Everyone's sitting at a food table, nice table. So I asked my sister, what are they eating? That's paradise, right? She said, yeah. I said, you mean was there any meat on that table? Because if there were meat on that table, that means they'd have to kill the animal. You mean there's killing in paradise? And she went, I never thought of that. That's the super soul, right? I never thought of that. Super soul's reminding her. Then she told me a few days later, I've been thinking about what you said. It's incredible. And she's been a Jehovah's Witness as long as I've been a Hare Krishna. She's a dedicated member, but she had never thought of that. That in order to eat meat, which we're doing now, which we're so attached to, which we believe in, and when we get liberated into paradise, in order to continue that activity, we have to kill the animals in paradise? No, that's not good. So like that, the Lord is trying to help us. But sometimes you need a little nudge. So I gave my sister a little nudge, and it was a big jump of knowledge for her. Now she can't stop thinking about it. Oh, so I hope that makes sense. The Lord is there. He's guiding us. It's just we have to learn how to listen, which is important.
I hope that helps, Shurab.
Yeah, that helped. That the last line as well. I need to reduce the propensity of speaking. Sometimes devotees are speaking to me, they are talking something important, and I jump in the middle.
Oh,
I need to reduce that.
You should ask as many questions as you need to, because we're dealing with the reality of the spiritual world, and we don't want to miss anything. If you're not sure about something, but like Prabhupada said, asking relevant questions. He didn't like foolish questions, but relevant. The question you were saying was very relevant. What Gita said was relevant. What Anasuya said is relevant. And what Pariksha is getting ready to say, I know it's relevant. I see that look on his face. He's got something to give us. He's just waiting for me to shut up so he can give a little something to bless us.
He actually put a post in the chat, which you mentioned, Prabhu, was one can be Krishna consciousness in a minute, Srila Prabhupada said.
Tell us about that, Pariksha. Come on, give us a little nectar on that.
Hare Krishna, please accept my obeisances. Prabhupada.
I
love
his voice.
It's a video that I saw that one of the devotees after Srila Prabhupada's lecture was asking, how long does one take to become Krishna conscious? And Srila Prabhupada says, in a minute. Open his eyes. In a minute. You have not been reading Bhagavad Gita?
Exactly.
Then he quoted 1865 and 1866. Man mana bhava bhakto maskuru
Mami Vaishya
Satyante Patijane is Piyosin. And anyway, Savadama Parichaja, Mami comes Saranam Gaja, Aham Tam Sava Papa Moksha Ishami, he opened his eyes again. If you surrender to me, I will save you from all simple reactions. How long does it take to surrender? If you surrender in 1 minute,
yeah,
it'll take you 1 minute. And that's Papa's point. That's
beautiful stated.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol, thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you so much for that. And it's really, really nice. In fact, as you were reading through, I was the small group that gets on every evening, whenever we have the circle reading, we were saying amongst ourselves, a few of us, once we finish this reading of the Bhagavad Gita, when we start back, what we would like to do, Prabhu, is actually to go back to the first verse in the first chapter, but play Prabhupada's lecture on it.
Oh, wow.
So if it's one verse a day, that's fine. But it's like we've read it, now we're going to go deeper.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Right. And so once we're done with the 18th chapter, we're going to go to the beginning again and then play Prabhupada's lecture each evening, one verse, and go deeper. What do you think
That's
about
powerful.
that, Prabhu? Yeah.
Because I listen to Prabhupada's lecture every morning and I send it out on WhatsApp, and I just now started sending it out on Facebook.
I saw that on Facebook.
Yeah, I put it there. I stopped commenting about stuff. I just put Prabhupada,
Amazing.
Shut my lips and let Prabhupada speak. So yeah, hearing his voice,
yes,
hearing the inflections, sometimes hearing where he can't even finish the class because he's emotionally overcome, talking about the gopis. Radharani, they have no desire. They don't ask Krishna for anything. Every time he talks about that, he goes into some ecstatic mood. So devotees need to hear that, feel Prabhupada through his lectures. Like in Atlanta, we do that Super Saturday, once the first Saturday of every month. We just listen to Prabhupada, and then we have some comments at the end. That is beautiful. So if that's how
what
you
we would.
like, play Prabhupada, and remember Hari Sardi Prabhu, not Hari Sardi, Hari Vilas Prabhu, when he was in Berkeley. We went there for a GBC president's meeting. And his standard was, in the Bhagavatam class, every day they would play Prabhupada, and then they would have a discussion. I'm not saying that you should follow that necessarily, but I found that to be amazing. And I heard that one lecture Prabhupada says, for the man, woman is woman. For the woman, man is woman. That means object of enjoyment. I just like, that's stuck in my brain hearing Prabhupada say that. So you're absolutely correct. Hearing Prabhupada, this is going to be a unique offering that you'll find many devotees might come just to be part of that. To hear Prabhupada Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's how he used to give his lectures in New York. I believe it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday, something like that.
Oh,
go back and look at Leela Marie's. I believe it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or something like that he did,
wow.
So
Oh, that's
invite
nice.
devotees to come. You'll find, I think more devotees might come. Yeah.
I hope, because I was even telling Pritchard, now that we've read it, now let's go deeper. And then to go deeper is go back a verse each day and hear Prabhupada, and at the end have a discussion. And then I said, if there isn't a verse that Prabhupada did not cover, then we'll call on one of you three to give the class.
You can do that, or you can just go to the not Veda-based Prabhupada Vani.
Yes.
And just go through the Bhagavad Gita classes that he gave.
Yep.
And the ones that correlate, sometimes they're exactly the verse number. It doesn't have to be the exact number, but it's in that chapter.
Yes.
Pretty much gives lecture in every one of those chapters. So again, hearing Prabhupada those 3 days of the week, that's going to be amazing. I like that.
Thank you. Thank you for encouraging us even more, Prabhu, because that thought came, and I meant to ask you about that a few days ago. And it slipped my mind, and so I'm glad I'm bringing it up, because I thought that would be a nice one to go deeper.
Beautiful.
In hearing Prabhupada's voice and his instructions and the lecture, and then have a discussion at the end. So that was a thought.
Excellent.
Thank you. Any other questions from devotees? Any thoughts, any clarification? And if there isn't, we thank you all for joining us. Vanchakraptibhyascha, Kripasidhuvebhya, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai Prabhupada ki jai.